And it is the top of the hour, so we are going to get started here. Welcome everyone to What Keeps You Up at Night? Entrepreneurship During Challenging Times, episode 41. Oh my goodness, 41, second one of the year. Excited to keep this going. Just the energy keeps building, the quality and the diversity of the guests just keeps getting more deep and robust and awesome. So we're not going to be stopping anytime soon. So hopefully you'll all keep watching as our audience here keeps growing and growing as our reach increases across the country here. And we're very proud of that. So my name is Colin Weston. I am the community leader for Startup Vancouver, which is one of over 40 startup chapters, community chapters of Startup Canada, which is the voice for the over 3.5 million entrepreneurs in this fabulous country of ours. And we do have reach there. I see Sim on there. Sim's joining us from Toronto today. So, we've got a couple of time zones. We're not just Vancouver or BC centric. We make sure that we pull in guests from all over the country to share their entrepreneurial stories, however they are involved in our innovation ecosystem locally, regionally, and nationally. So I am going to share my screen here to talk about some community announcements, make some introductions, and then we're going to get rolling today. So I always ask my good friend Reza, have I managed to get it?
Yes, you have.
Wow. I think that's 7 in a row I've actually got it. Now I just jinxed myself. I got to totally screw it up next week, but here we go. So today, very diverse group of guests here. So Irene Dorsman, a good friend of the show, good friend of mine, the great things that she's doing with her husband, Peter, with Angel Forum Vancouver. I'm going to be speaking with her. We've got Sim Chhabra from Toronto, and we're going to be learning about all the delicious things that he's doing there. I'm not going to be a spoiler because I want Maryam, of course, to handle that. And our good friend, Brittany Whitmore, who I haven't spoken with in a couple of years, who, little fun fact here, when we launched Startup Vancouver over 3.5 years ago, she was one of the original community leaders that helped us get it off the ground. So one of the foundational people. So once again, big shout out to Brittany for helping us take the first steps to get us to where we are today. So with that, I want to do our opening segment here, what we call How Are You Hanging In There? And the way we do this is a great segue for me to introduce my fabulous co-host. And I'm going to start with Reza today. Reza V, my friend, how are you doing? And what have you been doing to hang in there to be more engaged and more positive over the last week since we last spoke?
I feel like there's a threat and it's about to be broken. That's how much I'm hanging in there.
Oh boy.
Stressful few weeks. We've been overwhelmed with some stuff happening, and it's good type of problems to have in 2021. I put it out there, entrepreneurs, be careful what you ask for. You're gonna get it, and you'll be having other problems. Once you have the sales going and the orders coming, then you have a whole host of problems after that. So those are the stuff I'm dealing with.
Right. And thank you for sharing that, Reza, because a lot of people will think whether they're in the entrepreneurship space or not, they think, oh, you're scaling, your business is growing, everything must be fantastic. But whether it's ups or downs or even in the middle, there's different stresses every single day. And just because you're expanding and you're getting traction doesn't mean that you're just sitting back just having a good time.
Absolutely not.
So thanks for sharing that. Maryam Mobini, looking fabulous again today. How are you? How have you been the last week since we last spoke?
You too. You're looking good. Look at your shirt. Looking
well,
good.
As I mentioned earlier, you inspired me last week. You dressed up that I actually put on a shirt with a collar today, what I call my COVID tuxedo. It actually has buttons on it, right? I actually put on a pair of pants that actually has a zipper on it today. It's like, what's going on? It's like I dressed up today. So, but you're always leading the way and you're looking fabulous as you always do as our fashionista here. So how have you been, Maryam?
Well, it's been really good. I've been working 15 months straight, and I gave myself a whole month off. Everyone took 2 weeks off. I took 2 more weeks off, and this is the first week that I'm back, and I'm feeling like a sense of clarity and calm and really feel ready to get started again, So
amazing.
I'm feeling good.
And thank you for sharing that, because for everybody out there, you got to take care of yourself. You really do. Sometimes I adhere to that more than I actually say it, but you need to. and there's in entrepreneurship and in life, taking a break, pulling into the pits to recharge your batteries. There's no shame in that. In fact, it's what you need to do. So Maryam, thank you for sharing that and saying that you've been very intentional to make that happen. Although you didn't completely do that, because I'm still pestering you and making you come on the show here every week, which at least you keep the illusion alive that you enjoy being here. But I think you actually do. Right?
Colin, didn't you get the emails from Maryam that she's not around? All the auto responses. I don't know why you're bugging her.
Yeah, I know. They go right to junk now. Yeah, I'm ghosting her now. So quickly here, we'll start at Vancouver. Best way to connect with us is through social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, also with our LinkedIn community page. We post all of our upcoming events and also the other ones that we support within our ecosystem, whether we partner with them or not. And that's what we do, including Angel Forum Vancouver and others, because they are part of what makes us what we are here in Vancouver and across Canada here with Startup Canada. So it's all about partnerships, which is one of the pillars of our reason to be. Other thing that we actually have is our YouTube channel that's up and running, and don't know if you can see at the bottom there, but we're getting some traction. Last week's actually had over 1,500 views, over 1,000 the one before that. So we're starting to get some traction, and if you see, we're at 91 subscribers. So hey, if you haven't subscribed, here, we're going to gamify this. We want to get to 100 subscribers before next week's show. So come on, people out there, let's get us 9 more subscribers so we can get to 100. That would be amazing. And we just keep creating this content, putting it on there for you. So we have over 40 conversations with now over, 120 entrepreneurs and innovators. So lots of great stuff back there. And every week we try to keep it educational, engaging, inspirational, and also a bit fun, which is what we do here. So I also want to mention next week, first Can Startup Stories speaker series event that we're going to have for the 2nd January in a row. The theme is going to be mental health awareness for entrepreneurs. Oh, and look, Maryam with her 2019 hair is going to be speaking on there too. I need a new shot from you, Maryam. You can promise me that. I don't know if I have one. Maybe I do. But please join us for this mental health, whether it's with entrepreneurs or just in life in general. To remove that stigma, raise awareness is so important. So please join us for that next week. We are starting to promote that on our social media platforms. I will include the link also in our chat and also on Facebook and messaging there. So please join us for this, what will be an impactful evening of storytelling from these 6 amazing humans. We always want to make this an interactive show. So hey, if you're joining us today, either Facebook or Zoom, don't be shy. Put your question in Q&A or chat, or if you want us to turn on the mic, we're happy to do that too, to ask your own questions. So please ask our fabulous guests any questions once our hosts have finished having the chat with them. Quickly mention also Jack.org, very proud to have them as our charity partner. Jack.org is Canada's only nonprofit that is the advocacy group to empower young people to be ambassadors on the ground in schools, in our communities, to raise mental health awareness for youth. And so far, we've managed to raise $900, including a nice donation today from someone. Actually, we have 2 donations today. So I'm going to be doing my usual musical shout out at the end. So brace yourself at that. Before that, the other thing I want to mention too with Jack, they just announced this, May 29th, they're doing their Jack Ride. So we encourage everybody, it's going to be virtual, obviously. We're going to be promoting this even more. So we encourage everybody out there to support Jack and all the good work they do for youth mental health awareness and advocacy. So today I'm going to be speaking at the end with Irene about Angel Forum Vancouver. In the middle, we are going to have Maryam speak with Sim, just making me hungry again here, just looking at the recipes, looking at the spices here. So I got to get rid of that screenshot there because my stomach's starting to rumble there. And to start the show off today, and I'll stop sharing the screen, that Reza is going to have a chat with Brittany, not only about what she's doing with Exvera Communications, but all the other great things she is actually doing around the world in the entrepreneurship and innovation space. So with that, Reza, Brittany, I hand it over to the 2 of you.
I was about to make a rookie mistake of not unmuting myself. Brittany, don't do that. A lot of people in 2020 gone in that direction. Brittany, thank you for being on our show. I am excited to see what you're up to around the world. So let's start off with a little bit of background about yourself and tell us about Exvera, which has a very cool meaning. I leave you to tell us what that's all about.
Amazing. Thank you. I almost did forget to unmute, but I didn't. So that's the question of the year, or the statement of the year. Oh, you're on mute. Well, I've been running Exvera Communications in its current format for the last 5 years, and we are focused on earned media. So that is the side of public relations. It's really all about getting that real news coverage. So we work with companies, pretty much only innovative companies. So that's technology, innovative health, or lately we've been doing a lot of food tech. So it was funny to see Colin look at the food poster and get hungry, because I'm looking at all this food stuff all the time now, and I'm just like, I'm just hungry all day. So yeah, it's really cool. And we have clients here, and we've also have clients in the US, and done some stuff in Europe, and even gone to Asia for some things. So it's really, press has become really global. I find it's very rare someone comes to me and says, Brittany, we want press, but we just want it in Canada or just in Vancouver. That's very, very rare. So we've helped our clients get into all kinds of publications, ranging from the Wall Street Journal to Wired to Business in Vancouver to the Globe and Mail, and pretty much everything in between at this point, which has been really fun and really exciting. It's always great when you see those pieces come up. So I've done a few other things. Before I did this, I was head of communications at Procurify. It's a pretty well-known startup here in Vancouver. I don't know if it's a startup anymore, maybe over 100 people, but I was there early days, just a handful of us figuring it out, and scaled up to 50 people, customers all over the world, up to 7-figure ARR. So that was just an amazing learning experience. I was there almost 3 years, and that's what really got me into technology in the first place. And then along that whole journey, done a bunch of other things. I founded a TEDx Women event here in Vancouver a few years ago. So we did 2 conferences for that. Went really well, met some amazing people, got me involved in the TED community. So I've gone to a few global events that they've hosted with other TEDx organizers, which has been really cool. I used to do a radio show with Kirk LaPointe from VIV about technology, and we would just talk about all the latest news. And just kind of, you name a startup thing here in Vancouver, I have probably been involved in it, done lots of speaking for students, and also on the advisory board of a couple startups. So just kind of gotten as involved as I can.
Impressive stuff that, in 15 minutes, I don't think we can go over the whole thing. It's very, it's the kind of stuff I'd love to, chat longer with you in probably another occasion. But let's dig into the PR aspect. Let's start off with you telling us what Exvera means.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I came up with this name over a decade ago, actually, and Exvera comes from Latin, and it means from truth. So this is something that's really important to me. As I really even came into my own professionally, I realized that when I got more authentic, everything started going just a whole lot better. I started being more successful. I started having better connections with people without worrying so much. What are people thinking? I need to make sure I'm this or that or that. Just be yourself. And then I extended that to the companies. So companies will resonate with people that share the same values. So
no, I absolutely love that. When I was reading through your website, one thing that comes to my mind when it comes to PR is that a lot of people seem to be not understanding that PR just doesn't happen. You can't just pay PR agencies to promote your company. There has to be some story behind it to drive it. Can you tell us how you guide your clients or the tech founders or the entrepreneurs to actually create a story that then you guys can run with it on the press?
Yes. So it is really important that they have some kind of story. A lot of the times entrepreneurs will approach us when they've just raised money or they're launching, or there's often something that drives them to want to start doing PR, which is great because then that will give us some kind of news hook. So the news reports on news. So if you have something that you're announcing, then that will give us a news hook. And then we can go from there and we can look at what's trending in the media, what is the government doing, what's happening in the industry, and look at how what your company is doing fits into those larger narratives, and how can you pitch them to make it relevant to the world.
So with those type of PR headlines, wouldn't you say those are like all startups go through that? We raise money. This is our product announcement. This is our valuation. Is there anything unique that they can do to stand out from those pack?
Well, I would say, if you're putting together an announcement or a press release, something like that, the biggest thing you can do to stand out to journalists in any way is to not just talk about we're the greatest, we're the best, we're number one. Like, nobody wants to hear you talk about how you're the best. So let's get back to facts: the who, what, where, when, why. What problems do you solve? How do you solve them? Why are you unique in the way that you solve them? So really getting back to that basic information. That's what journalists will want to look at.
And I want to follow up with choosing the right PR agencies for your company, because I do understand there are businesses that are locally in Vancouver, like restaurants or a boutique shop or some sort of a barber shop. They would look into a PR agency that have some sort of influence in the local area, and they have all those reach. Whereas a startup that's global or a startup that's North America, it's a different PR agency. They need somebody that knows those publications and those press releases. How would you go about finding the right PR agency?
Yes, you're absolutely right. There are different specialties. That was one of the hardest things for me in the beginning, was to have the discipline to turn down companies that are not a fit. That was one of the hardest things to do. But now I'm really glad that I did, because we have this expertise in innovation and we understand what those journalists are looking for. So, if you're a business, obviously think about what kind of business you are, and look for the agency that understands your industry, especially having been in a startup. I understand the pressure. I understand what it's like to have investors. I understand what it's like to need to get those customers. So I can communicate with them more effectively and help them and really understand their problems.
That's amazing. I'm just gonna add a quick comment, because I dealt with PR a little bit at the beginning of launching this startup. And what happened was I quickly knew that going to PR that, hey, we have a product release or we are launching a startup, it's just not gonna, nobody's gonna pay attention. I need to feed them a story. And that's how I started going to 100 networking events in 100 days. Went to, I met Colin, I met a lot of people, and it got some sort of momentum that then journalists were wanting to write about it. Daily Hive wrote about it for free. Lots of bloggers around town wrote about it for free. And then that got me the momentum to have 250 people show up in a launching event for this startup that they've never heard of. They didn't know about it, but they paid $40 to get into this event. So it was kind of like unheard of. And that experience gave me the understanding that when it comes to PR, you have to think about it like social media content marketing. It can't be just, I'm hiring a PR agency, I'm paying them 10 grand, I'm paying them 5 grand, then do it. Well, no, they have to then guide you to then create a story and go with your marketing. All the pieces need to line up. So I got a lot of I'm having a lot more appreciation for what PR agencies are doing when they actually collaborate internally with the marketing department of a company, and the two become a powerhouse.
It's so important to have that consistency. If I go out, we pitch a reporter, they think it's cool. Okay, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go back to the website. They're going to check out this company. And if it's not consistent with what I just got them stoked about, then it's kind of, it's maybe not going to hit. So You're absolutely right. And you want to amplify it too. That's great. Oh, look, we have a story in Wired. That's great. And a lot of people are going to see it. Sure. But if you can take that to the next level by building a campaign around that piece, you're going to get so much more out of it.
Yeah. Those are the type of things I believe Burger King is doing quite well. When they run a creative campaign, it's all planned out. The marketing is doing something. They have a product that goes along with it, the naming of the product, and then the PR is pushing it. So it's like a full force going forward. You just have appreciation when you watch it. I'm gonna wrap it up and be mindful of the time. Brittany, tell us what keeps you up at night these days.
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel extraordinarily fortunate. I had an office in Gastown, but obviously, like everyone else, I've been working at home. And, I'm able to work from anywhere, really. All I need is phone, computer. It's fine. So I feel really fortunate about that. And right when the pandemic hit, we did lose some business because people are freaking out. But new stuff came along and things have been good. So I feel so fortunate for that. I mean, I guess the biggest challenge for me is just maintaining that communication with the team and making sure that everyone's on the same page. And that's probably the biggest thing for me, is how to make sure everybody is engaged. Like, I touch base with pretty much all my clients every single day, and then the team as well, really getting them but just on the same page as me, even though we're not in the same room.
So let's say we get through one more of 2020. I hope not, but let's say there's another pandemic 10 years from now. Would you do anything different? Would you be less stressed out? Would you plan something quicker? Because I personally know when it happened, I was numb and I didn't know what to do. And you feel like maybe your entire business from roots in the ground is wrong. And then you're like, not really. It's then you find those values and you stick with them. Was there any learning point there?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I guess, I mean, I did get a little nervous right at the beginning too, when, I didn't have one contract that I negotiated a little too much on with, and then it wound up not working out and I had to fire the client and it was horrible. So you really got to listen to your gut. I would listen to my gut next time. And I guess the only other challenge is business development during this time. I'm fortunate that I already have a good reputation and a network,
Nice.
But, I used to be able to go to events and used to do speaking. And I mean, I guess this kind of counts, but
nice. We do have a question from Brenda. I'm going to ask you and you can tell your answer. I'm interested in an example of a business that Brittany has turned down. I also turned down people who don't fit. Curious about questions she asked to determine if they're a good fit.
Yeah, a big thing for me is stage of company. So as much as I'm very passionate about the startup community, a lot of the times it'll be too early for a lot of companies to be doing real PR. So they'll be pumped. And I've sent out so many proposals, not so much anymore because now I can filter it a little better, but so many proposals to companies who are just not at the stage where they should be spending their money on this kind of thing. So yeah, I'd say looking at the stage for me is really important. And even then just the kind of company, like I say, focus on innovation. If it's something that I don't personally get excited about and I don't think has the potential to really make an impact, I don't really want to do it. So yeah, that's probably.
I've personally dealt with few agencies on marketing as well as development, like software engineers who were later stages type of agencies, and we were small. But the way they treated me as a founder, I felt like when the time comes, this is the first person I would call. So they are kind of building that pipeline of leads for their future. Yeah. And I felt warm and fuzzy because they cared. They spend a little bit of time to learn and they give me some advice that is very useful at this moment. Mm-hmm. So in my head, in a year or two, when I get there, they're the first choice I would call. So
I had that just this year. Someone I met, I think it was 3 years ago. We had coffee 3 years ago. Talked about it, sent them a proposal, didn't really go anywhere. And then a couple months ago, I get an email back, hey, Brittany, are you still doing PR? Yes. Just, we're ready exactly. Now. Amazing.
Nice. I'm going to hand it to my co-host, Colin. Thank you, Brittany, for joining us and be a good sport.
Yeah.
Colin, take it from here.
Brittany, it was so good to catch up with you again. And thank you for sharing that. And I like your analogy there with bringing clients on board. In a way, it's kind of like dating. Just because someone asks you out doesn't mean you got to say yes, right? Sometimes it's kind of awkward, but but it is kind of like dating in that sense. And I'm sure with Irene, what she sees, and we'll talk about later, as far as all the companies that come through her funnel for angel investing, and the majority of them don't fit. So I'm very curious. We'll hold off on that, Irene, for now, but I'm curious to actually hear your vetting process also with Angel Forum Vancouver. So Brittany, Reza, thank you for that. So let's keep rolling here. So, hey, Maryam, Sim, one of the two of you jump on here. And once again, my stomach stopped rumbling, but I'm sure over the next 10 minutes, it's going to fire up again. So Sim, Maryam, take it away.
Thanks, Colin. Hi, Sim. It's really nice to have you here. And I must say that I was going through your site. I was going through your Instagram. I got so hungry that I had to eat before I come on the show. And I actually been craving Indian food so much during the pandemic and haven't, actually attempted to make Indian food yet because of yes, I do find it a little bit intimidating with the spices. Like, how much do I need to add? And then I just did what you've made it so easy. So I want to learn more about how did you get started? So tell us about what you're doing and how did the idea come about?
Well, thank you for having me. And so the idea, well, to start off with, the name of the company is Goody, and it's named after my mom. So the way it started is she would always try to teach us how to make her dishes that she would make for us all the time. And like you said, it's always like, how much do you use and getting it right and all of that stuff. So when the pandemic hit and, I was home, was spending more time with them, and I was learning how to cook some of the more complex dishes. And then it kind of I had friends that have eaten her food and they wanted to learn how to make her butter chicken or any of her dishes. So we were giving them recipes, and one of the things that they said is, well, we don't want to go and buy out all the spices, or we just don't know how much to use or put and not put. So then it just kind of over a little bit of trial and error, what I decided was then to just put them in little packets for everybody and give it to them. And then this way they can make it the way it's supposed to be made without having to guess the spices or, the process. And then what I took it a step further by putting a QR code, and that takes you right to the recipe on a YouTube video with instructions on it. And then this way it just makes it simple and easy to do.
It's so perfect that I can't wait to get my spices. And
Yeah.
And I watched through the videos are super simple, the way you guys made it. So you started, how long has it been now?
So it started in June. So it's just a few months old.
Okay, so yeah, tell us about that. Pandemic hits and you're actually seizing this opportunity, which is really great. How long did it take for you to get it all together? And you launched in June, but how long did it take prior to that to get started and get everything going?
So we've been in the hospital. I've been in hospitality for 20 years, and we owned a restaurant in the US before we moved up here. So we could say it started in 2000, but in terms of this idea, it took shape during the pandemic because I had a lot of time on my hand, and we were able to bring the recipes together, because the most difficult thing was, cooking for a single batch to churning it into a single recipe. That was where the pivot took place, because more and more people were at home and wanting to cook. And, a lot of you go and watch a lot of videos, but you don't walk away with the information needed. So it took I would say about 4 months to get the spices recipes right down, the cooking videos down, and all of that. So.
And how have you been managing, your mental health during the pandemic and working on this startup?
What
do you do?
I'm a cyclist, so I was able to enjoy the downtime to be out on the bike as well. And the beauty of it is that it allowed me to be creative. So either I'm thinking about packaging, or I'm thinking about a recipe, or I'm thinking about steps or the write-up for it, or how to photograph. So it always kept me in a creative space, and that really helped me with my mental health and keeping focus.
These the packages that you got, how many iteration did you go through before you landed on the one that you landed on?
That's a good question. I would say about 4 or 5. There was a local company that sells these packages, and what the rep did is she gave me a ton of samples to work with, and then I just had to kind of see. I always kept the end user in mind, and kind of always had that, like, how would they have it in the easiest way possible, and then just working through that. I would say in about 3 or 4 tries, got it down to the amount of spices I wanted to put in, which packaging I wanted to use, and all of that.
And where are the spices coming from?
So we buy the spices wholesale from a local distributor, and then we small batch roast them ourselves, blend them, and then package them in a commercial kitchen right in Oakville.
And right now it's being sold directly from your website, is that correct?
Yeah, so it's going to be purely an e-commerce based, and I'll ship all across Canada. I am getting requests from the US, but I haven't quite tapped that market just yet. And that's only because of Instagram. But it's mostly Canada-wide or e-commerce based, yeah.
And where else are you? I'm just thinking about your marketing strategy. If you could like tell us a little bit about that. What are you hoping to do with that?
So right now it's been mostly very, very organic. So like, for example, with Colin, I work with his sister, and she bought the spices off me to send to him, which then led to him trying on. So I'm getting a lot of that, where somebody gets a hold of it and they realize how easy it is to actually make some of the Indian dishes that they love. And then it just turns into this sense of like, oh, you got to try this. And right now it's on that, but then once the website goes launched, then I'll get into more of your traditional marketing, whether it's through Facebook ads, Instagram ads, or Google AdWords, that kind of stuff.
And just wondering, what are some of the challenges that you've had, starting off this business, and since I don't know, June or prior to June?
Yeah. Well, two front. One is translating my mom's recipes to a point where I can make them, and once I make them, to sequence them in a way that when a viewer sees it, it's an easy thing for them to follow and repeat. So that's where my primary struggle is when it comes to the production part of it. And originally it was taking our spices and making them into a bigger volume, but yet keeping the taste the same. So
yeah, and so it's your mom on all the videos then?
My mom's the one when she does the spice and all. The cooking videos are me. It's me doing them, but it's her guidance. So once I make the product, I'll take it over. She'll do the tasting of it, and if it gets a yay, then I get to go forward. If it's not, then we redo it. So yeah. She's a big influence in the whole aspect of the process, even though I'm running the show in the sense of the work.
Yeah. So what keeps you up at night?
Well, in aspects of the business, it's making sure that all the message is done out right. So whether it's the creative lens, the write-up lens, which items to cook. With Colin, we were talking, and he's more vegan. So now doing research and finding ways to make certain things that are more vegan friendly or vegetarian friendly, or so those kinds of things.
I actually saw those options. I got really excited. So I can't wait to, make some of the vegan options. So
yeah,
that's really exciting. I'm just going to open it up to see if there's anyone who have any questions. Or Colin?
Well, once again, getting hungry again, and I'm half vegan, I guess you can say. The fact our 19-year-old daughter is vegan, so we've come along for the vegan ride and have learned to cook. Didn't know what nutritional yeast was 2 years ago. Now we do. All these great things. And I made the palak paneer, but rather than the cheese, we of course used tofu, and it was amazing. And like I said, hey, if this middle-aged guy can pull it off here, anybody can. And I love what you're doing. And I can tell that you've had some coaching. I'd love to ask you this question, Sim, as far as mentorship in the entrepreneurship space, as far as defining your problem, because there's nothing worse than creating a product or service that, or a solution that's looking for a problem. So the fact that it's easy, you've reduced that pain point of that onboarding, that intimidation that Maryam had suggested. So tell us about that, the early days. What type of help did you have as far as mentors in the entrepreneurship space to encourage you, or validators that what you had is a viable business?
So my background is in business process and economics. So the substructure, I was able to rely on that. But I have some professors. I have a good friend of mine who I ride with, and him and I would constantly go back with in terms of even the website or getting the product right or the recipes. So a few business people, some friends, and professors that I kind of leaned on a lot in terms of getting the idea out.
Nice, nice. And I'm just gonna ask you one more question before I open up to Reza, or even Irene, or Brittany, if you have any questions, or our audience here. Reza talked about this at the top of the show here with his company, Ovu. Careful what you ask for, you just might get it now that he's got traction, he's expanding, he's scaling. So how do you see the next while? I'm assuming you're poised to scale. And if you do scale like you hope, how are you going to balance that, that need for the quality of your mom's recipes and processes, but able to scale it up so that you can start to automate certain things? So what is your plan when all those good things happen, when Goodies goes from this to that? So what's on your mind?
So it's I started looking into more of a bigger scale grinders in terms of so that I can manufacture more. But in terms of automation, that's something that I'm still needing guidance with, because I can fulfill orders to a certain level, but I'm hoping that when I get to that bridge, I'll be blessed with an individual who'll just be like at the right moment, at the right time, and say, hey, these are the things that I need to start thinking about so I can get there.
Right. So is that those pieces there, just like Irene will always, I've heard her say many times, if you're looking for funding with investors, you don't ask the day that you need money. Those are conversations to build relationships 3, 6, 12 months out. So where do you see the next step? What is, just for all entrepreneurs out there, realizing you don't have to have every piece of the puzzle in place. So what do you see that next piece? Is it a financial officer, marketing, or where do you see that next person or person in the leadership role that you need to take it to the next level?
Financial. So more like, how do you, doing my budgeting, forecasting, in terms of inventory projections and that kind of stuff. So I think I would look more for somebody that can help me finance, because those are going to be the next big steps where I'm going to be make that investment.
Nice, nice. Thanks for that. Hey, Reza, want to open up to you if they have a question or two, or perhaps if there's any questions in chat there.
Question wise, I don't see any new questions. Let's see. Actually, Brittany is asking some question. Brittany, is that or you are asking somebody else's question? Because I'm trying to.
No, I wasn't
No.
asking.
Okay, sorry. I have a comment on that to make, and that is, I experienced few months of or a long period of at the beginning of the startup that everything's slow. You're trying to figure things out. You're trying to get customers and put the wheels together, and this engine is about to start. But then once that engine starts, it's time for delegation. And if you haven't prepared for it, you'll get to where I am, and I'm stressed out and I'm trying to put the right screws at the right place. So writing down procedures, instructions, how to delegate what you're doing I think is very important to do while you have the time, because there will be a time that you hire staff and they can't think like you, and they can't just make decisions on the fly. So you have to have it properly written down that these are the framework we're working on. So, and it requires about a week of sitting down and really nailing that process. So that's a comment I have when you actually get the traction you were hoping for, it's too late to think about those procedures.
That's great advice. I'm gonna get on that, because it's such a new puppy, right? So
yes,
those are like my deeper thoughts, where I'm like, okay, how do I translate this information that can be executable?
your recipe and the sauce is one thing, but think about the messages you get on Instagram. You get a message, they ask for, I don't know, discount, or are you going to send to US, or are you going to ship? And on the fly, you think of an answer, but think about it as, instead of one message, what if it was 100 a day or 200 a day? Are you going to think about it on the fly, or are you going to have a proper document that somebody can follow? Well, if you don't have the document, when there are 200 messages, you don't know whether to create the document or go back and answer them. And it's too late to do that.
All right. Yeah. No, thanks. Thanks.
Of course.
Absolutely. Hey, before Irene and I jump on our conversation, I got to have Irene jump on here because I had a question. Irene, what do you consider the kind of the factors or characteristics you look at, the 4 or 5, when seeing if someone is investment ready or you want to look at them? And I know that team is very important, and it sounds like, Sim, you're putting that team together. So Irene, perhaps you can comment on that, of the importance of team. It's not just the product, but your ability to execute that in the team. So maybe you can jump in with the insights you have through what you do with Angel Forum Vancouver.
Yeah, well, yes, I can. I really relate to what you just said, Reza, because there needs to be thought behind everything and planning, right? And if I see on a team, if I see not only the founder or the CTO who has come up with, because Angel Forum mainly focuses on tech companies, but if I've seen the CTO, the CEO, but on top of that, I see a CFO and I see a marketing person, I get really excited, because then I know they've thought about things, they have thought about how they're gonna roll it out. So that means basically for me, approve of the traction and what they plan on doing. So the team is very important. And Colin, you mentioned it earlier, I'm Dutch. I'm a sucker for organization. If things are organized well, and if I can get all the information that I actually request when I ask a two-page executive summary, I don't want a 5-pager, I want a 2-pager. So yeah, I love organization. I love people that are organized, that are very truthful and trustworthy. And I don't know, you and I are maybe a little bit older, so you get a feeling for, you know, what works, what doesn't work. Those are all things that that play a big role. And then with Angel Forum, I have to keep in mind, because Angel Forum is a membership organization of accredited investors, and it's very diverse. So I have to keep that in mind as well. So still, if I'm not really into the technology, I can still assess based on, you know, things like organization, who's on the team, what is the traction, what does their sort of planning look like for the next 2 years. I can still assess whether they are a good fit or not.
Got it. So I just made a mental note to myself. I'll write that down. Rewrite my 5-page plan into 2. Okay.
It is, and I think Brittany can really attest to that. It's really hard to put something together in as few words as you can. It's so easy to, you know, to let it all come out. And it's like, no. People's time is limited. So really be concise, be precise. If you can tell me in 5 lines what you do, I'm happy.
Nice.
So yes.
So Sim, I'm going to put you on the spot here just to end up your conversation with Reza and yourself here. And thank you, gentlemen, for both of that. So what would you consider your, I wouldn't say necessarily a tagline, but what would be like your elevator pitch, your 1 or 2 sentences of what you do and why you do it, as far as your differentiator and your value proposition?
So the tagline is cooking made simple. And it's with easy how to do videos and prepackaged spice blends.
Simple. And your name is Sim. Is there, clever. You can't get that past me, right? Right.
So,
There's definitely some PR stuff that can be done there.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
Sim, Reza, thank you, gentlemen, for the conversation there. Once again, I'm even hungrier than before. I may have to make one of the dishes. I think I'm going to make butter chicken tonight. Not even the vegan version. I'm going to make butter chicken tonight. So that's going to happen. I'll send you more pictures. So thanks for that. So you've already had a chance, bit of a spoiler, to be introduced to Irene Dorsman. already with her comments and insights there. So to continue on with that, so I've had the pleasure of knowing Irene for a couple of years now. Her husband Peter and her have invited me to some of their events that they've had with Angel Forum Vancouver. And Angel Forum Vancouver has been around since 1997, but I believe it was 2018 that you and Peter took the reins of that. So I want to start with this kind of two-piece question. Explain again what it is that you do with Angel Forum Vancouver, and also your journey from the Netherlands to here. So why did you decide to jump in and become the CEO and the facilitators of Angel Forum Vancouver?
Okay, the one-liner describing Angel Forum is like we provide a platform for high-tech entrepreneurs to get connected with accredited investors. We're a membership organization. Our members are accredited investors. We have events where they present. And in the best of cases, we help with them arranging a finance. Then how did I end up here and how did I end up at Angel Forum? Originally from the Netherlands, we lived all over the world, came here from Hong Kong, where I did work, and I worked in Indonesia as well. We came here, and you won't believe it, had never been here, but we came here for space and fresh air. And that's what we got. And then a year later, we're like, what did we do? Do we want to stay? We stayed on. We had to sort of realign our professional life with what was available here. So we started working for ourselves and got involved with early stage high-tech companies like 20 years ago as both investor and advisor. Then Angel Forum, sort of the opportunity came along almost 3 years ago. And I thought, Peter just mentioned it to me, and I thought it would be a really good fit with what we had done over the last 20 years with companies here. It's like, well, let's take it on. Let's see what we can make out of it, because I did see a lot of opportunity to make the sort of ecosystem more collaborative and more successful, and successful in the sense that more companies get financed. And that's what we have been working hard on the last 2.5 years.
Nice. So just like with any entrepreneurial endeavor, your assumptions, the best that you can of what you had 2.5 years ago is compared to now. Just like with a product, you put it out there and you get feedback in that loop from customers and partners. What is it now that you've seen reveal itself as an opportunity, whether it's certain segments or things that you're doing now that, let's say, 2.5 years ago you weren't doing or didn't even know was an opportunity at that time?
Well, the easy thing to say is like, I am confident and comfortable hosting a Zoom meeting. So there you go, that's one. But for Angel Forum as a whole, I was just amazed when I moved here. It seemed all sort of little silos, right? It was Vancouver, and then there was Victoria, and then there is Kelowna. I just really worked hard in sort of getting things connected and getting to know companies over there and investors. And that's what I've been working hard on. And that is paying off now in the sense that we do deals together with other investors all across the province. So that is fantastic.
Nice, nice. So I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, people considering entrepreneurship or early growth or startup companies, they're overwhelmed or misinformed of what investors and angel investors and VCs actually do. Their lens to this is seeing either Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, which of course we realize is not the real situation. So can you tell us a little bit, because we're not just about startups, even though it's in our name, we're about the whole innovation ecosystem and investors. You are such a critical part of our community here to support this. Can you talk about, you mentioned accredited investors. For people watching today, can you explain exactly how you become an accredited investor and what the parameters and criteria are, and where people are in their life when they decide to take that plunge, and how do you onboard them? How do you find them to become accredited investors?
Well, accredited is a term that's sort of the legal term that they use here to define whether you are capable of making an angel investment. And there's a whole story to it. I don't always agree with the criteria that they have, because I think if you can invest in the public markets here on the TSX, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, I think you can invest in early stage companies, provided that you do your due diligence and know it's high risk. So that as a first. Secondly, if I look at, and I really look at the membership of Angel Forum now, and it has changed. It used to be somewhat older people, mainly male. Now I see a lot more females, which makes me very happy, and a lot of younger people too. So that is very, very interesting. And that's a very good thing, because younger people know more about things than older people do. So if in general, if I talk about my members, those are very nice, committed people. They're not sharks whatsoever. And in a way, I can relate what you see on TV, because those people put their money up, they take a high risk. So they have to be pretty serious about what they put it into. So they can ask very pointed questions, and they always have a choice, right? I always say, keep in mind that people can put their money in thousands other things, right? Not your company. So you have to have a proposition for them that works for them. And every investor is different in that respect. So
Right.
I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. So to extend the last comment you made there, the work that we do with Startup Vancouver and Startup Canada is, I think most people know, one of our pillars is diversity and inclusion, making entrepreneurship welcoming and inviting for everyone.
Yeah.
So on the investment side, what are you doing? That power of invitation does that so powerful. So how are you onboarding, making women, especially, let's say women, I'm curious to see what you're, I'm sure you're not at a 50-50 split yet, hopefully someday soon, but how do you then encourage women to then take that first step to learn more about you, attend a meeting, kind of dip their toe in it?
Yeah.
So what do you do then as part of your diversity and inclusion piece there for investing?
That has been a very interesting point, actually, because when I started doing Angel Forum, and I was like, that needs to change. There were like in a room of 50 investors, there were 2 females there, and that was including me. So that was not good. And I think that's a cultural difference, like where I'm from the Netherlands originally. And as you already alluded to, we don't care, right? If you want to do something, you do it, right? And if it doesn't work out, too bad. I think the sort of the threshold to start new things or to try out new things is a little lower than it was or is here. So I really struggled to find out why women were not joining Angel Forum. However, I talked to friends of mine. So she started an organization which is called Women Equity Lab, and it started in Victoria. And basically, it's a group of women that sign up. They start a fund, and it's limited. I mean, it's not a huge amount. They start a fund, but they go through the whole educational process of how to become an angel investor and what to look at together. And that format did work for women. So we've started a Vancouver chapter of that. We will start one in the Okanagan very soon. And I have noticed that that is a very good way to get women involved in this. And then after that, they feel confident to go out on their own and join organizations like Angel Forum. So to go back to your question, we couldn't sort of accomplish that by just saying like, oh, you have to join us. We just had to make an arrangement that did work for them, and it is successful.
Nice. Well, that's encouraging to hear. Still a long way to go in order to get that that complete equity across, but we're going in the right direction, and we'll continue to do it.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that, and it's not just about diversity and equality, but for me, it's very important. This is a particular kind of investment that I think women should make. And why should they make it? Because there's a downside and it's high risk, but there's also an enormous upside. And if women or other groups are excluded from that just because they don't feel confident or comfortable, that's wrong. I think you could almost see us making it more sort of democratic. And I think that's a very important thing to take care of.
Absolutely. And I've learned this, the work I do in the sport entrepreneurship space, and especially golf,
Yeah.
some of the people that are trying to make the game more welcoming and inviting, especially for women, is that multi-billion-dollar business opportunity. And it's one woman that's in charge of diversity and inclusion with the PGA of America, Sandy Cross. I love the line that she uses, and that is, in order to be one, you need to see one. So if you
Yeah.
found that also with yourself and other women there,
Yeah.
that it encourages other people because they see, well, just seeing other women there, is that they feel like they belong, that they have a voice. So hopefully that will continue to grow. So it sounds like your numbers are up from 2 as where it was 2.5 years ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I'm
So
very happy
what are
about
your
that.
numbers right now? How many women do you have as
We
part of
have
your investing group?
I think as our members we have 20 are females, and that's out of the 80 plus members. So that's quite an increase over a year and a half.
Nice. Well, obviously you're
Yeah.
doing the right things and finding ways to connect and resonate.
We keep working on it.
Here we go. So I have one more quick question before I go open it up, and then we're going to end the show today. So love talking about stories and journeys. Could you tell us kind of quickly here with the events you have, what's that like? Let's say a company like, I don't know, a tech company like Ovu with a founder like Reza. How would they, at what stage do they need to be at as criteria? How would they manage to get in the funnel to hopefully one day get the chance to pitch in front of your monthly investor group?
Yeah, and I just really want to make very clear, if we say like this is not a good fit, it's not sort of that we say your company is not good. It's just we pick companies that we think would work for our membership, because it's horrible if you make the effort and it doesn't work. Also make sure that you really realize it's not a matter of you present and you walk around and out with a check. That's not how it works either. But see it as a sort of introduction to a network of people that can introduce you to other people as well. And that's how it has worked for a lot of companies. If I have to say like what I would put out there, like you have to have a product preferably, you have to have traction. There should be a sort of upside that it can multiply 5 to 10 times in the next 5 years. And just there need to be a good fit. And there's companies that are doing really well, but we said no to. And that's just because we didn't feel our membership would be interested in. It's, for instance, if I look at myself, I don't know anything about gaming, but gaming is a really good way to earn your money, or gaming companies, and to invest in them. But just because I don't know anything about it, I would not invest in it. But doesn't mean that the company isn't good. So that's what I also use when I select companies.
Nice. And well, I have lots more questions, but I got to stop there. Reza or Maryam, do you want to jump in? Do you have anything there? See there's a couple of questions in chat there too. Perhaps Reza, you can see if there's anything to ask.
I'm going to ask what Brenda is asking, and then I have a question as well.
Yeah.
Brenda is asking, how would someone join Angel Forum? What is the process? My question relates to becoming an accredited investor with Angel Forum.
Well, the accredited investor part of things I cannot take care of. You have to do that. And there's specific rules for that. You need to have $1 million, not in, invested in your home, but available to invest because it's high risk, or you need to have an annual income of $200,000. So that's nothing I can do about that. But if you are an accredited investor, you can just sign up as a member of Angel Forum. It's $300 a year, and it includes all the meetings and whatever, and the educational workshops that we put on. And you can do that on the website. And but I think the hardest part is the accredited investor part, and I cannot help you with that.
And
Sorry.
Irene, are you involved with SheEO? That's something Brenda is also asking.
Yeah, no, I did. I took part in became an activator a couple of years ago. They have a different view on how they do things, and I think it's really good what they do. I just really focus on the angel investment side of things.
Awesome.
But I love what they're doing because they're radical, and it's a radical change, which is really good.
Yes. Irene, I have a question of my own. I've always thought about raising money as something that, it's something that the startups have come accustomed to, that, the first thing you have to do is raise money and give away your equity. when you have some traction that can support, your company and you're getting funded from your customers, when is the right time to actually get an investor? What's the right decision there? Because it creates a real dilemma in the entrepreneurs world that is it good, is it the right thing to raise money? Is it the right thing just to continue on the growth? And it gets to a point that you really want to have the right investor or no investor at all.
Yeah, I say yes to all the points, because I very often start by saying, like, you do not need to get outside investment. If you bootstrap, if you make it work, I actually send companies back, so like, why are you here? Just, make it work hard, bootstrap for a year or two, and you can finance yourself. Why would you give up part of your equity, honestly? However, there are moments, and it all depends, right? Like when you really have to scale up hard, or there's a particular thing that you really need to do in a year, then it's good to get outside investors. But then again, you were talking about dating, Colin, I would even put it a little further. It's about getting married. So you really want to get an investor on board that you gel with. And basically what I call them what my angel investors do, some of them just put in money, but the majority really helps out and seriously helps out. And that's where they come in really, really helpful and handy.
That's my question, in terms of there's a spectrum of type of investors you deal with. On one side, we understand that it's a type of investor that just puts money and every 3 months is bugging you, not every 3 months. Some of them even bugs you every week. What happened? What are you doing? The bad investor may not even let you do your job. They're going to interfere. Now, on the other side of a good spectrum, what could an entrepreneur look for as an ideal investor? Is it someone that gets, how does that involvement look like? Is it just consultation over the phone? Is it their team jump in and help you? What can we expect from a smart money investor?
It depends. Like I have examples like of investors that got involved because they A, believed in the business, but B, they really believed in the founders. And I think that's even sometimes stronger than that they go like, oh, this business is gonna be huge. So based on that belief, they got to know each other, right? And eventually they got involved as an investor. But then I've seen when things turned bad, like for a couple of companies it did in March and April, all the investors got together and basically pulled the company up and made it ready to continue on. And the company's doing really well. So you want to, when you look for a partner, what do you look for? You want someone who takes care of you, not someone who takes from you all the time. Exactly. And we really want to get that across. Like the times, like the shark investor, those are gone. Like the people I work with are really nice, decent, good people that really want to make it a success. And they're also not interested in getting into a company cheap at a low valuation because they want the founder to be motivated as well. So I would very much compare, like, do I want to hang out with this person, like seriously for the long term? That's how I would look at it.
Great points. And the reason I put it out there is because there are a lot of entrepreneurs who feel bad about asking for that money. And then they feel inferior in terms of, in fact, they're even, and they have to, sit down and interview the investor as much as they're getting interviewed and really see if there is a fit, similar to partnerships.
And be very careful with your time too. I want you to focus on your business. So if you have a good investor, they're not gonna waste your time, and they should not, because and that's the other thing, just to tie back to your question, what is the right time to get investment? Like, also keep in mind that getting financing takes up a lot of time. It really, I think on average companies, it takes them 6 to 12 months to close a financing. So can you imagine the amount of time that you spend on presentation, on talking to people? So really think it through.
And what you thought you'd do with the money 12 months ago and 12 months later is completely different. Your company is in a different situation.
It is, but I do want to hear from you though, like, okay, now we're going to plan back. Where do you think the company is 5 years from now?
Yes.
And how do you think you're going to get there? And the money that I put in, for how far is that going to get you?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like what you look for in a partner, and it's different for each and every one, but there's a few, I think, actually quite a lot of things we can all agree on that someone looks for, right?
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, great nuggets of wisdom there from you, Irene. Thank you for that. Reza, thanks for the follow-up questions. And looking at the opportunity cost of trying to get investment, and do you need it? And I can just imagine, Sim, how much time if you spent the next 12 months, 200 hours a month or not 100 hours a month, trying to get investment rather than making spices. Can't even think how many spice packs you can make in that amount of time. Tens of thousands, right? That then you're selling to, I don't know, get revenue to support your company. What a thing, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe you need investment after that. So I think this conversation could keep on going and going here. It seems like we're picking up energy here, but we're already a couple of minutes over, so we want to respect the time here. And as I've mentioned, you're still here, so I will do my musical shout out as a thank you to those who have donated today to jack.org. Sim, you're also a keg waiter, as I was back in the day, so we are kindred spirits there. So definitely my days of singing birthday songs there is my only formal training, if you want to call it that, in singing. So hopefully I do the keg waiter fraternity proud on this. And once I finish, Maryam, if you can jump in and close the show for today. All right. So with that, as I said, what I do goes a little like this. Nice donation by you. Jack.org says, thank you. You are awesome. Irene, Dorsman, and Brenda Benham. Nice donations by you. There we go. Take it or leave it. That's what you get.
That was lovely. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, Irene, Sim, and Brittany, and thank you so much. And our co-hosts Colin and Reza, you're going to catch us next week, same time at 12 p.m. And you can find us on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, and just subscribe. So our goal is to reach that 100 followers on YouTube. So definitely go ahead. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to do so. And make sure to connect with our guest on LinkedIn. And if you have any further questions, and follow up on LinkedIn with them. And thank you so much again. See you next week.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.